Hey wait, this isn't right. This isn't a new gaming news video. Alright, that's better. Yep, it's October. That means it is in fact the month of spooks. With Halloween around the corner, I think it's time to cover some games of the horror variety. To start this special edition of horror game videos, let's begin with one of my favorites. SCP Secret Laboratory. SCP Secret Laboratory, or as I'll be calling it for the rest of this video, Secret Lab, is a multiplayer first-person shooter / horror game where up to 50 players are split into different teams with different objectives inside of a large research facility. The game was released in 2017 and is exclusive to PC. The game takes place in the world of the SCP Foundation. If you don't know what the SCP Foundation is, I'll explain it. The SCP Foundation is an online collaborative writing project about the secret organization known as the SCP Foundation. The Foundation's purpose is to secure and contain objects that break natural law. These are called SCPs, and protect humanity from the threats that these objects pose. It is an incredibly popular horror series with thousands of different creatures and items that are threats to humanity. Secret Lab takes some of the most popular SCPs and concepts from the SCP Wiki and mixes them with first-person shooting and multiplayer gameplay to create a super fun experience. But let's get into the game itself. As said earlier, Secret Lab takes up to 50 players and puts them into one facility with different objectives. The players are split into teams. Those teams include scientists, D-Class, people who are used as test subjects and are thrown at the SCPs to test what they do, Mobile Task Force, aka MTF, Chaos Insurgency, and finally, the SCPs. As mentioned before, teams have different objectives that they must complete to win a round. Scientists need to escape and join MTF. MTF's job is to assist in scientist escapes and contain SCPs and prevent D-Class escapes. D-Class need to escape and join Chaos Insurgency. Chaos Insurgency's job is to help D-Class escape, stop scientist escapes, and beat MTF. The SCPs have the simplest job: destroy everything. The SCPs also have their own abilities and weaknesses, meaning that there are a lot of intricacies to dealing with them. For example, SCP-173 can't be moved when being looked at. However, every 3 seconds, everyone blinks, meaning that players need to maintain distance from the monster. Another good example is SCP-939, which is a large lizard that can talk. In-game, playing as 939 allows SCP players to communicate with human players. This means that 939 can trick players into coming out of hiding spots and to negotiate with human players. 939 is also blind, meaning that players playing as 939 can't see other players unless they are making noise. These are just 2 of the 6 SCPs that are actively trying to get you and your team. With all these groups with specific objectives, matches become extremely chaotic. This chaos is what makes the game fun, because you can go from sweeping rooms for monsters to using an intercom to let you send a message to the whole facility. Now, I know that so far I've made it sound more like an action game rather than a horror game. Well, that's where the gameplay mechanic known as getting separated from your team comes in. If you are separated from your team and are in an area that you know the monsters or enemy players are in, it's terrifying because you could turn a corner and BAM! Giant lizard dog thing running right at you and you can't outrun it. So yeah, SCP Secret Lab is an awesome, complex multiplayer FPS / horror game and I highly recommend it. See you next time.